What's
Yeah.
going on, guys? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown, and we're here for episode number 105 of the TBL podcast, man. Delighted to be here. Delighted to be joined, as always, by the main man on the other corner, my father, Laurie from AFTV in the house. What's going on, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. First of all, let me just apologize, man. My laptop is really playing up, which is why I'm a bit late today. I'm having to stream this off my phone, so not the best visuals, I know. But listen, we're going to bring the heat either way, regardless of how we're looking, right? So, first of all, let me just get that out of the way. Laptop's playing up, but my Wi-Fi is okay. But I'm having to use my phone today instead of like my laptop. So, a bit annoying on my end, but we're here either way.
Well, we can see and hear you fine, man. Now, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well. Yeah, hear you very
Yeah,
well.
yeah, I'm
Can
ready
hear
to
you.
go. Yeah, yeah.
Well, listen, man. Let's get straight into it, man. We'll see a few people come in during the chat as we go along. I see Ian Hamilton's already left the comment. He's put, "Let's get down to business, guys." We've got Himanshu. He's saying, "Hey, guys." So let's get it rolling, man. This week's podcast, man. A lot has been going on this week. We last caught up after the Teofimo Lopez Josh Taylor fight. We gave our post-fight reaction to that. So I'm not really going to delve into that too much this week, but I wanted to touch on this, and you kind of briefly touched on it before the end of the last show, right? Canelo Alvarez. We're going to have
Mm.
a look at that. We're going to talk about that now because word is coming out, and I'm going to let you cook on this first, but word is coming out that Canelo Alvarez has narrowed it down to maybe two opponents for his September fight. As we know, he likes to fight in May and September on the Mexican holiday weekends. And
Two
yeah,
opponents, and none of them will be Benavides or Bivol. I'll assure you of that.
none of them will be Benavides or Bivol, and pretty underwhelming. One of them in particular, and no disrespect at all, but one of them under strong consideration was Badu Jack, who recently became the WBC cruiserweight champion, and the second under consideration is Jamal Charlo. Now, I've got an issue with both of these because let me start. Well, I'll let you kick. I'll let you cook. Really. Let me let you cook. I'll let you cook. But I've got an issue with both of them.
Yeah, I've got issue with both of them as well. The first issue being that it's neither Benavides or Bivol. Um, he said he wanted the Bivol rematch. Apparently, Bivol has said that it fell apart, the negotiations, because they're basically trying to offer him the same contract as they did for the first fight.
Mm-hmm.
Why should Bivol take a fight under those conditions? And they know full well that Bivol's not going to accept that. So let's be honest, man. Sometimes when you don't want to fight somebody as a fighter, you offer a contract that you know that the fighter is not going to take. Yeah. Secondly, with Benavides, we know, well, it's been put out there on Front Street that he was offered 50 million for the fight by PBC, which is a mega amount of money. And apparently he didn't even respond to the offer, is what we're being told. So what does that tell you? The fact that he didn't say yes or no, that kind of tells you, because if he says no, then obviously the supplementary to that is, well, what's up? Do you want more money? Can we get some negotiations rolling? The fact that he hasn't even responded, that pretty much tells you that he doesn't want the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So then we hear he's not going to take none of those two. Then we find out that he was going to fight, or that he wants to fight, or an offer's been made to Badu Jack, which is that is bordering on contempt for the boxing public. Let's just put it that way. I could find a couple of stronger terms, but I'd rather not at this stage. And then even the Jamal Charlo, come on, bro. You're picking on a man that's down, aren't you? Let's be honest. You could have fought Jamal Charlo a couple of years ago. Now you want to fight him when you know that the guy's had serious problems outside the ring. He's not fought for about 2 years. And now all of a sudden you want to fight him. At a weight, by the way, that we're not even sure if he can do at the moment. So it's just utter garbage.
Well,
Utter garbage.
what rubs the salts in the wound with, first of all, Badu Jack, as Himanshu is saying here, is that they're trying to go for the WBC cruiserweight title, and apparently it's rumored that it would be at a catch weight as well. So this
No,
is
but
really
Daryl, you can't throw shade on a man that's daring to be great, can you?
This is really. I'm sorry, man. I've gone against you with Canelo sometimes. Sometimes I felt you've been a bit too harsh on him. But for this, if this does come to fruition, particularly the Badu Jack one, then I really have to, I have to
I think
aim
they're
my
both as
troops.
bad as each other, to be honest with you. I
This
think
is
him
this is
picking on Charlo when Charlo's down like this is really
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Because he
yeah.
will know that Charlo is going through some serious domestic stuff at the moment and apparently said to be suffering severe financial consequences as a result of his divorce. That's out there. That's on Front Street. Everybody knows about it. You've only got to have a cursory glance on YouTube to see that. Yeah. Those are well documented things that's going on in Charlo's life at the moment. He's just about trying to get his life together by trying to get back in the ring and get a fight. He's not fought in over 2 years. And you're picking on the man when he's down, when you should have fought him years ago, right? And then the Badu Jack thing. I mean, Badu Jack is what, 41 now?
It's ridiculous.
And Canelo, you got fights like Benavides and Bivol out there. You're supposed to be the so-called face of boxing, even though you've been knocked off your pound-for-pound spot. And that's what you're doing, bro. Really? Come on, man. I mean, it's interesting that on a lot of your shows, I have called out the BS of both Canelo Alvarez and Tyson Fury. And at the time, I remember getting stick, not from everybody, but there's a little loud minority on your channel, Darryl, that came after me, accused me of all sorts of things, even racism, said, oh, it's because they're not black and all this type of stuff. And I just laughed that off because the facts are there for everyone to see. I had a pop at Canelo, I had a pop at Fury, not because they're not great fighters or very good fighters at the very, very least. It's because of the way they conduct themselves, yeah? And like I said, at the time, I was getting a lot of stick for it. But I think in both cases, both you see what's been going on with Tyson Fury recently, and now more and more people are seeing what's going on with Canelo when I said that the guy's ducking the best fighters and trying to circumnavigate his way around fighting certain people. And I think I've been vindicated, Darryl. What do you think?
Well, in this scenario, yeah, because this is a clear cherry pick. Clear.
It's worse
Because
than a cherry
you
pick.
can't use the mandatory excuse anymore because Benavides is now your mandatory at super middleweight. David Benavides is
Man's
now
not
your
picking
man.
up
So
the phone, bro.
we can't go back at that and say, oh well, he's got to fight his mandatories to keep his belts. No. You're now deciding to cherry pick your way up to cruiserweight, which you wouldn't have done if the situation wasn't right. And yeah, I can't back this, man. I can't rock with this. I can't support this. Charlo is less of is the lesser of two evils for me. But at the same time, it's just convenient that you've gone for Charlo now. When we were all screaming for it a couple of years ago, you've gone for Charlo now when there are better options out there.
But you know
And
what's interesting? He said
yeah.
before when he was supposed to fight Charlo and he ducked him, he said, what has he done? Well, actually, Charlo's not done anything in the last 2 years, but now all of a sudden you want to fight him. So when he was doing things, you said he'd not done nothing. Now he's not doing nothing for real. And now all of a sudden you want to fight him. And it's just so obvious. I know that there's hardcore fans of every fighter, but I just hope that the people out there, man, can see right through this, see it for what it is. And I hope that they voice their displeasure, man. You know what I mean? That's what boxing fans need to do. Boxing fans are in that unique kind of category, in that kind of space where you almost feel like you love the sport more than the sport loves them. And when you see fighters like Fury and Canelo, the way they conduct themselves, man, they just bring no honor to this sport, man. It's terrible.
Mm.
It
Big up
really.
boxing view. Big up boxing views here in the chat. He's put here, man like Darryl. Good to have you here, boxing views. Sorry, Laurie, carry on there.
Yeah, as I was saying, you know what I mean? Like the fans get emotionally invested. They spend their money. They support these fighters. You know what I mean? They become legends. And then you see the way they conduct themselves like this. Listen, if Canelo doesn't want to take on the best guys in the world, there's one simple solution. Retire from boxing.
Or
Your
pick up the
resume is
belts.
great, right? Even though you've spent a large part of it ducking fighters, but he still has enough there to go down in the Hall of Fame as one of the all-time greats. I suggest you get out the game because To put it in no uncertain terms, you're basically taking a piss. That's what he's doing, bro. I hope that language doesn't offend people out there watching this stream, but that's basically what he's doing. Him and Tyson Fury, they are taking the piss.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They're trying to navigate this thing to suit their own ends, and they're just pulling the boxing fans along for the ride. Joke team. Absolute joke.
What I will say is, you know, nothing is confirmed as of yet. It's just, you know, the rumor mill. Although Eddie Hearn did actually come out and say in an interview that they were 90% done. So it's a bit more than a rumor mill, because we're hearing it from, you know, the source. You know, Eddie Hearn.
My only surprise is that Edwin Belanga's name's not been mentioned, because that name was doing the rounds on social media a few weeks back. A lot of people were saying that, speculating that Edwin Belanga would get the nod. And in fact, I saw an interview with Edwin Belanga, and he actually said that he'd spoken to one or two people. He didn't say who. He said he'd been speaking to one or two people about the possibility of that fight and how much he'd love that fight. Well, of course he would, because he knows it's going to be a mega payday for it.
Got a comment here from Boxing Views. He says, come on, Laurie, it's outrageous to group Canelo in the same category as the habitual liar Tyson Fury.
I don't think it is, because both of them are just taking the mick out of all of us. And I just hope Boxing Views, with respect, can recognize that. I mean, come on, bro. Like, Canelo is a serial ducker. And this one, the Badu Jack stroke, who was the other guy we spoke about?
Charlo.
Charlo. It's just clear evidence of this.
Mm.
Clear evidence. I mean, he said he wanted the rematch with Bivol. What's holding up that from being made?
Mm.
Come to the table. You know what I mean? Drop your ego. Be humble. I mean, let's be honest, man. The guy humbled you in the ring. So show some humility outside the ring. If you want the rematch, sit there. Because Bivol doesn't need to rematch, really, does he? Because he beat Canelo comprehensively. It's not like it was close or disputed or there was any element of controversy about it. He spanked Canelo's butt. We all watched it. He won easily. Don't be fooled by the closeness in some of the scorecards, because we all know what that's all about. He spanked Canelo that night, bro. So if you're this warrior, Mexican warrior, man of the people, you would want to get that back. And even if you didn't want to get that back, you want to come back with fights that's going to cement your legacy. Fighting Badu Jack, man, is not going to do that, in my view. And yes, you're going to have people say, yeah, but he stepped up another weight class, oh, come on, bro. That is just so tired, that one.
I'm not buying that one now.
Straight through it. No. And with Fury, all Fury's doing is just ducking and diving and lying and cheating. So that's why I put them in the same bracket. They're dishonoring their sport. A sport which, by the way, they've become legends out of and made millions upon millions. I think the fans deserve better, don't you?
Yeah. Himanshu says here, what's next for Bivol? That Canelo talks are broken down. Who will he fight next? Heard nothing about him. Well, the last I've heard was that, you know, they're trying to be fair. They're trying to go for that Beterbiev fight. But the WBC shamelessly are still, you know, in the act of, you know, not sanctioning that particular fight if it ever did get made. So, yeah, it's just the shameless WBC are just in the act once again.
Is that because of the Russia situation?
Yeah.
Since when have the WBC had
really cared about any of that?
About politics and wars and stuff like that.
Just ridiculous.
So that's just virtue signaling and grandstanding of the worst kind, that is.
Yeah.
Because no one believes them. No one has any conviction in them about that stance at all. Since when were the WBC these paragons of virtue? Absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
But like I said, Boxing Views, sorry, bro, I disagree. To me, Tyson Fury and Canelo, you could say that Fury's worse, right? But to me, they're both seeking to dishonor the sport. Yes, Tyson Fury is probably a more obvious case because of the way he's shamelessly ducked Usyk. But seriously, man, Canelo needs to be checked, because what this guy's doing, man, seriously, it's not behavior becoming of a legend. It's just not. And if you, like I said, the man is a great fighter. absolutely no dispute there, right? He's had a great career. He's made a lot of money. He's got a lot of accomplishments and accolades. Fair enough. But what I'm saying is, don't take us for a ride, bro. If you're going to stay in this sport, you either take on the best challengers or worthy challengers or retire. Simple as that.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. I mean, there's no confirmation yet. There's nothing pending, but the sounds and the noises that I'm hearing are not positive, in my opinion. I'm not happy about it at all. It's just a waste of time. I know the Charlo fight will eventually draw attention, but come on, man. Like, we all know what, like, if you did a poll right now on Twitter as to who you'd want Canelo to fight next, if you're being honest and real, those two guys are not going to make the top three of choices for Canelo out there. So yeah, like you said, Laurie, you got if you don't want to, you got to reevaluate what you want to do in the sport if you're not trying to fight the guys out there like a Benavidez and anyone else.
I mean, and it is in this Benavidez duck as well. It's getting embarrassing now, bro.
It really is getting a bit silly now, yeah.
Because we had all this Mexican nonsense. He don't fight Mexicans. Well, for a start, Benavidez is only half Mexican. You know what I mean? One of his parents, I think, is his dad's Mexican and his mum Ecuadorian. I know he's only half Mexican. So. I mean, how far down the antecedents tree do you go? You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Benavidez was born of mixed parentage and he grew up in Arizona. There's not that much Mexican about him, really. So that was a real misnomer that there right away. Then the usual, what has he done? What has he done? Well, the guy's a world title holder. He wants to unify the belts, which is what all fans want to see. We all keep getting told, too many titles, too many belts. We want to see unifications. Yeah. Benavidez is pressing for the unification, and seemingly for whatever reason, Canelo don't want it. And it's not as if, listen, let's be honest now, right? And I say this like with honesty. It's not like Canelo doesn't have a chance of winning. To many people, he would be seen as favourite for that fight, wouldn't he? Because let's be honest, man, he's got a lot more experience. He's been in the game a lot longer. He's fought at a much higher level than Benavidez. And let's be honest, man, Benavidez in his last fight against Caleb Plant, he looked good, but it wasn't like he blew Caleb Plant away. So that should frighten Canelo in any way, is it? I just think he's scared to lose to people like that. I don't think he's scared of fighting Benavidez because Benavidez proved that night against Caleb Plant that he can be touched, that he can lose rounds. So if you're a great fighter like Canelo is, I don't see what the problem is. The whole world wants to see that fight. Probably even more so than they would do the Bivol fight.
Let me give a shout out to Real Killer here, man. He says, BS, Canelo is going to his 5th division against a good boxer puncher in Badou Jack is bad. Jack's a 3-division champion and a good name. What are Benavidez? Well, listen, Real Killer, you've just hurt yourself here because we're dissing the Charlo fight and you've put that in here as well. So you know that the Charlo fight isn't ideal. That's one that's seriously under consideration. And come on, man, you should know that the Badou Jack, come on, bro. Come on, man. Be real, man. You want to see him fight Badou Jack over everybody else?
Either this guy's winding us up.
You gotta be.
Or he's so far up Canelo's derriere that he can't see night from day. And I'm trying to be respectful to the guy, but come on, bro. Like, stop. How can he say that about Benavidez? You know what I mean? He's a champion. He holds a belt. And he's a very good champion as well. And not only that, it's the fight that the boxing world want to see, much like the Spence-Crawford fight. Mm-hmm. There are fights that the public want to see, and that is one of them. You ask any boxing fan, they say, yeah, look, Benavidez versus Canelo, I want to watch that fight. So saying things like, what's he done and this and that, it don't make, you know what I mean? That don't wash.
Yeah. I'm conscious of time. I don't want to drag this topic on too long. Like I said, there's nothing confirmed yet. So I guess we'll hold some of that smoke until it is actually confirmed. But if this does happen, if Canelo does fight Badou Jack or even Charlo for me at this stage of, I'm sorry, but he's going to have to hold some corn from me.
Even the Charlo, I'm looking at that sideways, bro. No, like the guy's not fought for over 2 years. He's going through domestic disturbance and upheaval in his life. He's not in the right space. I saw an interview with him a month or so ago where the guy broke down in tears about the state of his private life at the moment. He's said to have drinking problems, all sorts of stuff. What PBC are trying to do is trying to introduce him back into boxing, a bit like what they're doing with Broner. By trying to, you know what I mean, give him a couple of, I don't know if there's soft touches, but they're trying to get him back in the ring. And all of a sudden, Canelo's targeting him for a fight. Doesn't that seem a bit odd to you? When you could have fought the guy before, and your response to that fight was, well, he's done nothing. Well, my thing to that would be, well, if he's done nothing before, when he was fighting regularly, and he's not done enough to fight you, then why 2 years removed, when he's not fought in that time frame at all, why all of a sudden is he relevant for you to fight? Somebody answer me that question.
Big up everybody in the chat, man. Real Killer, WM Boxing Views, Himanshu, all you guys, man. Appreciate you being here. Let's move on, man. Let's move on from the Canelo because we've got a few topics to touch on. The Errol Spence and Terence Crawford press conference took place this week. I did a couple of videos on my channel giving my reaction to those press conferences. First of all, Lloyd, did you see those two press conferences? I take it you did. Got a Jamaican flag there. What was your thoughts on the two?
We Jamaican, we're going to smoke him like Collybud.
Very good presser, man. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I love that. And I love the analogies. The analogies were great, man. You had Bud on one side saying they're going to gut out the fish. They're going to do this. They're going to do that to the big fish. Then you had Spence saying they're going to smoke on some Bud. So listen, it was great. You know, one thing that I will take from those two pressers that I mentioned in my videos as well is that both guys really, really believe they're going to win. And I know that's a simple thing to say, but something's got to give. One of them is actually going to lose. And the way how they're both talking, you just don't know what's really going to happen, which makes this such a great fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I'd say about the pressers as well is if you notice, there was a little bit of a sea change from the first one to the second one. So the first one was quite respectful, although you could sense that there's a little bit of creative tension there. They were trying to be respectful to each other while still putting it out there that they, you know what I mean, they're going to win. But the second one, there was a little bit more energy about it. I enjoyed the second one a bit more.
Yeah.
There was a bit more, you know what I mean? Maybe what it is, maybe they look back at the first one and thought, no, man, maybe I came across a little bit too diplomatic. We've got to spice this up a bit. So the second one, you started to see a bit more energy and a bit more, how can I put it, confrontation. Not in a malicious sense, but, you know, they were saying, you know, I'm going to go and knock you out. I'm going to gut you like a fish. The other one's I'm going to smoke you like a spliff and all that. Great, man, great. And like you said, Daryl, when you watch these two, man, you get that sense that both of them really are confident. That's what it sort of pours out of their veins, the confidence. And I like that, you know what I mean? There's no backing down, man. They're both stating. And the other thing I liked about him, there is that measure of respect. So even though they're both saying to each other, look, I'm going to do this to you, they're not minimizing each other by, you know what I mean, trashing their records or anything like that. They say, yeah, you're a great fighter. It's just that I'm greater than you. And I think that's the way it is, because sometimes you hear fighters in these face-offs and in these press conferences is that they're going up against a guy and they're rubbishing him. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. If he's that bad, even if you beat him, it doesn't mean that much then, does it? Because you spent the entire time trashing this guy and his achievement. So even if you beat him, it should be water off a duck's back then. But at least with these two, they're giving the other guy each other credence, acknowledging their greatness. And they're saying, you are a great fighter. It's just that I am once in a generation fighter. And I like that as well. It's good.
Do you agree with, I think Brian Custer said it in the press conference. He said that the winner of this fight between Spence and Bud will be number one pound for pound. Do you agree with that?
I think, yeah. I mean, listen, you can make an argument for some other fighters out there. But listen, whoever wins this fight can certainly lay claim to that title for sure. I'm not going to say absolutely they are, because it might depend on the manner of the victory as well.
Very true, yeah. Very true.
But if it's a closely contested fight and, you know, there's ebb and flow and back and forth and it's a great fight skill-wise as well as entertainment-wise, then, yeah, absolutely. Whoever wins that fight can certainly lay claim to being pound for pound number one. If it was a blowout, and I doubt very much whether you're going to get that, then you would have to say, well, was the person who got defeated maybe not quite as good as what we thought? But if
Yeah.
we get the fight that I think we're going to see, then certainly whoever wins can lay claim to that. And let's be honest, I mean, pound for pounds is not something that I take all that serious. It's mythical, isn't it? It's, you know, I mean, it's subjective. It's too subjective to count, really. I can understand the conversation in having a top 10, but a lot of times I'm not going to go all out for somebody to be number one unless it's clear that they're number one. And at the moment, I'm not sure about that, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, we got another month or so until the actual fight. Yeah, about 6 weeks, I think. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of build up until then. I think that's going to be the last time that they actually see each other face to face until fight week. But Showtime did confirm that they're going to be having the all access shows, which is going to be great. Going to delve into the camps of both fighters, and yeah, I'm just anticipating a very, very good show, very good build up. Probably going to be a star-studded event, I'm sure. But we'll obviously touch on that a lot more as we get closer to the fight. If you want to catch my reaction videos, head over to the this YouTube channel and check them out. I uploaded them, so they should still be there. Now, Laurie, let's talk about let's talk about this. First of all, Chris Eubank Sr. did an interview this week with Talksport. I want to get your reaction to that, and I also want to get your reaction to the news now that I heard yesterday, that Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. is in the running in Abu Dhabi for September. Now, I don't know how true this is. Again, it's nothing concrete at this stage. But since we're talking about the whole Eubank Senior interview and situation, let's start off with that particular rumor in Abu Dhabi for September. Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr., as well as the fact that I saw Conor Benn upload a video, you know, captioned it 160, which suggests that it could happen. What's your thoughts on it, man? I mean, we know what happened previously with this situation with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., but Abu Dhabi 160, Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr.
That wouldn't surprise me at all, to be honest. I think that fight, ultimately, it's going to happen sooner or later. And if it's going to happen, then out there in the Middle East seems a likely venue. Because let's face it, Conor Benn can't fight over here. And it's very unlikely that he's going to fight in America. So until he sorts out, you know, what he needs to sort out in this country, he won't get a license out here. So Britain is off the charts. Europe, no, that's not going to happen. America, they've said, a few of the governing bodies have also said that until Conor Benn resolves this situation, his drugs tests and all the rest of it, then he's persona non grata there either. So the Middle East will be the obvious place. And like I said, this fight seems destined to happen. And I actually think that, you know, I mean, the Liam Smith fight fell through. Liam Smith got injured. Where is Eubank going, really, with his career? Because to me, he's
exactly
away from Misfits boxing, really, isn't he? Let's be honest. He's not showing any ambition to win world titles. He just wants to fight for money. And it's pretty obvious by now that's what he wants to do. So that being said, I don't really have too much of a problem with the fight. And Conor Benn, let's face it, he's absolutely gagging for a fight right now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I was suggesting
I have a feeling it's going to happen.
A decent opponent for Josh Taylor if he moves up to 147, if he would be motivated to fight Conor Benn. So the Eubank fight, it's a big fight. A lot of people would watch it. Let's be honest. I know it would stick in the craw of a lot of boxing fans, but ultimately a lot of people would watch it. I would watch it. You probably would watch it. I don't know. And I also think that Conor Benn would start as favourite for me because I just think that Eubank, man,
even
you can tell when a fighter's got no ambition.
Even at 160, you'd have Conor Benn as the
favourite?
Yeah,
I would. I mean, I had Conor Benn
against Liam Smith.
Well, listen, I had Conor Benn winning even before the Liam Smith fight. I predicted that Liam Smith would beat Eubanks. You could go back and see some of my interviews on your channel and the stuff I do on DR Boxing. Make sure you check that out, by the way, people, if you're watching DR Boxing. I'm on there every week. When we had the previews for the Liam Smith Eubank fight, I said unequivocally that he would beat Eubank, and I thought he would beat him quite easily. I never predicted he would stop him, certainly not in the way he did, but I did. I was quite unequivocal that Liam Swift would beat him. I just don't believe in Eubank anymore, Daryl. I don't. And I think that he's fighting for the wrong reasons. It's purely for money. I don't like his setup with his trainer and all that. I think that Roy Jones hookup has been an unmitigated disaster. And I had to laugh when I heard that he's now thinking of bringing on board David Haye. So, you know what I mean? So,
I have to agree with you, actually.
Even more.
After you've made those points, I have to agree with you.
Yeah, he's not fighting for the wrong reason. If you look at the body language and the demeanour of Chris Eubank Jr. when he first started boxing, that cold killer that wanted to fight everyone compared to what he is now, you will see that he's clearly a guy that's wanting to accumulate money. Over the years, the ambition has taken second place to money. Now, listen, I don't have a serious problem with that, bro, because at the end of the day, man, this is a very, very tough sport, the toughest of all sports. You need to get rewarded. Boxers, the vast majority of them don't get paid anywhere near the amount that they're worth. So if you can come into this game and make good money, then fair play to you. I've got no problem with that at all. I just think the problem with Eubank is he's trying to fool up the people. You know what I mean? Because he said for years he wanted Golovkin and he wanted this and he wanted titles. Over the months and years, we now know that's cap. What we can clearly see is a man that's in it for the money. But that being said, I'm not really hating on this fight. I think it would be an entertaining fight. But I do think that Conor Benn will beat him. I really do. I think that in the ring, Chris Eubank Jr. never was the greatest in terms of his boxing ability. He relied on a lot of athleticism. That's on the wane. Like I said, I also think he's less than serious about his career, and that showed in some of his recent performances. I've also highlighted the hookup with Roy Jones, disastrous. He's not learning anything. And I just think that it's timing, isn't it? He's meeting Conor Benn at a time when Conor Benn is mad hungry. Whatever you say about Conor Benn, man, you see he's always in the gym. He looks sharp, he looks strong, he looks explosive. Yes, he can wonder why he looks all of those things, but he is those things. And I just think he'll be too hungry, too ambitious, and ultimately he'll have too much for Chris Eubank. He'll overwhelm him. He might even stop.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what? I mean, Eubank obviously got stopped in his last fight. You know, that's not how he would have anticipated it to go. Confidence must be pretty low, despite, you know, the makeup, the front act that he likes to push forward. Ben just seems to be itching to get back into the ring. You can see how aggressive he's been. Like literally with Kell Brook the other week at that show, looked like he wanted to scrap with him. So you could be right there, man. I mean, you know what? Like at this stage, like where Eubank is at his career, I'm with you. Just put the fight on there. Because I remember when this first
get it over and done with.
When this first got announced, I was saying to myself, like, you know what, this is some circus, this is a joke. But both of them are acting in a way where, you know what, put them both in the ring then. That's just
because Conor Benn, right? Conor Benn is itching for a fight. He's itching for a fight.
And Conor Benn he's not for me, he's not gonna be that welterweight contender. He's not gonna be, I'm not taking him seriously as a welterweight contender because he hasn't beaten anyone at welterweight to do that. So if this is what he wants to do with his career, then good for him. And Eubank, as you've highlighted already, he don't seem to be taking his career that seriously now. So if they really want to fight each other that bad, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah, let them fight, man. Let them fight. At the end of the day, it's destined to happen. They're going to do it anyway. There's no belts on the line. It's not like that, is it? Where they're jumping the queue for a world title or anything like that. It's something that they want to exercise, get off their skin. So let them do it. Let them scratch their itch. Get it done, and whoever wins, wins. I personally think it will be Conor Benn by stoppage. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, even with Conor Benn with this drugs thing, at the end of the day, sooner or later he's going to have to fight again, isn't he? Regardless of whether you think he did it or he didn't knowingly or whatever. You know what I mean? He deserves to have that second chance, whether you believe him or not. And he is going to fight, whether some people like it or not. So why not the Eubank fight?
Yeah, which kind of segues into our next area of the show, man. Chris Eubank Sr.'s interview with TalkSport this week. He did one with Tunde Ajayi and Spencer Fear on the week before or so. But it's a very revealing interview on Talksport this week. I haven't seen all of it, but you know, when my casual mates are sending me the video, then I know that it's reached a far audience. Now, there was a lot of things that were said. He was pretty emotional during that interview, particularly towards his son, Eubank Jr. He detailed a bit more as to, you know, the split that they had. Eubank Jr. wanting to move forward with his career and kind of do it without the assistance of his dad, wanting to be his own man. But then you had Eubank Senior saying that, you know, this situation that he's in right now wouldn't have happened if he was still on board. Naturally, he's going to say that. But yeah, pretty revealing interview, pretty bizarre at times as well. You know, the Queen references and everything else. But listen, Eubank Senior has always been an eccentric character. You know, what was your thoughts on that particular interview if you saw it? And yeah, some people believe he may have like there's been floating around that he's had a mental health issue and all that stuff. But, you know, he seemed to have his facilities together for that interview. He's just being Chris Eubank Sr. So what do you think?
Well, I've got a number of thoughts on that. The first thing is that anything to do with Simon Jordan, Daryl, I refuse to watch because I find that guy repulsive, obnoxious, rude, odious. I can't stand it. And all of a sudden now he's hooked onto boxing and trying to portray himself as this expert on boxing, which I find very distasteful. You know what I mean? So if I happen to switch on the radio, and I do listen to Talksport from time to time, but if it's Simon Jordan, especially if he's talking about boxing, off it goes. So I didn't see the interview. I saw a little slip of it's come up on my feed, and I heard one or two people talk about it. People sent me a couple of clips as well, but I didn't watch the whole interview, like I said, for reasons I've just discussed. Should Talksport and people of that ilk really be featuring Chris Eubank Sr. when, let's face it, pretty much everybody knows he's gone through a rough time and he has been experiencing some mental problems. He lost his son tragically. He's been through a hard time recently, and I kind of a little bit uncomfortable with people giving him sort of interviews and
airtime.
not should just rant like that. You know, if they are going to interview him, it should be controlled and possibly edited because it's highly likely that he's going to say a few things. I mean, let's face it, Chris Eubank Sr. is quite a eccentric individual in the first place.
Well, you say that they did actually edit that. So the video that they've uploaded onto the YouTube channel now is edited from the live stream because apparently some things were said that were a bit, you know, they wanted to cut out. But yeah, carry on.
Because I saw an interview with Chris Eubank Sr. some months ago and I had to stop watching it. I forget who the guy who put it out, but I found it very uncomfortable viewing. And like I said, the whole world boxing knows that Chris Eubank Sr. is going through it mentally right now. He's coming off a couple of tragic incidents as well within the family. I spoke about the death. There's been one or two other things that's happened as well, apparently, that I'm not going to go into that I've heard. So he's not in a good space right now. Plus, he's very clearly fallen out with his son, who he loves very much, Chris Eubank Jr. And all those things are contributing to him not being in the best place. So I'm a bit guarded about listening to an interview with him, you know what I mean? Especially on Talksport, especially with Simon Jordan, who I said I find him utterly repulsive. He's a clown. With the Spencer one, I'll be more inclined to listen to that. Spencer Fearing, that's my boy. Shout out to Spencer. But even then, you know what I mean?
Well, I saw Tunde Ajayi tweet today actually, and he was basically saying that he was shut down when he was asked to speak about, you know, when he asked Senior to speak on his son and stuff like that. I can't remember exactly what the tweet said, but apparently he said, yeah, I was shut down. But when he went on Talksport, he spoke as freely as could be. So he was quite disappointed in that they were restricted as to what they could ask him, whereas on Talksport, they seem to get everything.
Yeah, but it has to be taken into context, Daryl. The man is not right, though. You know what I mean? We've all seen things. We've all seen clips of him acting bizarrely. We've all seen it. We all know what it is. He's going through it, bro. And as a fan of his when he was boxing and a fan of his outside the ring, yes, he's bizarre. Yes, he's eccentric, but he's also quite a warm-hearted, entertaining, genuine type of person. So I don't like to see him like this, man. So sitting through 30 minutes of him ranting on about various things, man. It's not something I'm comfortable in doing. So I'm going to be honest and say I didn't watch the whole interviews. I've seen snippets of them. The thing with his son, like I said, it's quite clear that they've fallen out.
Mm.
And that often happens with fathers and sons. There's something about fathers and sons in boxing, man. It's a very intense sport. And then you get those relationships between father and son. And no matter how well they start off, a lot of the times, man, towards the end of the fighter's career, you'll often see them and the dad fall out or part ways. I mean, even with Ricky Hatton, you saw it happen with his mum and dad.
Yeah.
You
Are
saw
they
it happen
talking? Are they talking now?
with
Or are they still not
his
talking?
dad.
Are they still not talking? Are they still not talking?
I think they're talking now, but you know what I mean? They went through it.
Mm.
And Ricky said it took a real stress on him and contributed to him wanting to take his own life, he was saying. So that shows, you know what I mean, the intensity of the sport, first and foremost, the relationship between son and dad or dad and son. It puts a huge strain on it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, I mean, it's easy for me to say this now that if you was boxing to any like high level, I'm not sure if I'd want to be involved in that. I think I'd be one of those dads. I'd be quite remote rather than being hands on, and I would
Yeah.
be there on the periphery. That if my son wanted or needed advice, then I'll be there for them. But I'm not sure if I could be like, you know what I mean, right in a pivotal role in my son's career like that,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
very often it doesn't end well.
Yeah, I mean, it is a topic that is discussed in fathers and sons in boxing. I mean, there are, of course, you do have some examples of where it has, saw its way through and it's been very successful. But there have been other scenarios where it hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, there are exceptions to the rule. I mean, look at Joe Calzaghe and his dad. I mean,
Yeah.
apparently, even to this day, you hear Joe Calzaghe talk about his dad, who sadly passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
He talks about him in glowing terms. He said that if it wasn't for his dad, you know what I mean, he wouldn't have got anywhere near what he achieved. But then you listen to other fighters, man. So many of them said that they had real problems. Roy Jones and his dad's another example that comes to mind. You know what I mean? So
Shane Mosley and his
Shane
dad.
Mosley and his dad, there's just so many. And I think you can't help but think it's something to do with the sport as well, how intense it is. You know what I mean? It's a minefield, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something. Yeah. So
Interesting topic for real, man. I think we could.
yeah,
I
it's
think
a
we could
topic
do a
for another show.
we could do we could do a whole separate show on that. I think.
Yeah. Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Yeah.
There's so many examples, and like I said, a lot of them don't end up well. Even if they start well, they don't end well. I mean, look at Sean Porter, the fallout he had with his dad in that last fight with Terence Crawford. Some of the stuff that was said afterwards, you know what I mean? It's not good.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up, man. We're hitting the 45-minute mark, but I want to just briefly touch on this weekend. We've got a couple of fights happening. We've got Fraser Clark in action against Marius Wack, and we've got Regis Prograis against Danielito Zorrilla. Now, both Clark and Prograis will be heavy favourites to win those bouts, but just your quick thoughts on them before we dip out.
Right, well, with the Fraser Clark fight, he's fighting Marius Wack from Poland. That's a good opponent, given that he's not been in the ring for a while. We all know about the fallout with the purse bid that never was.
Fabio Wardley
fight. I was actually given media accreditation, invited to attend the media workout that they had yesterday at the Sports Direct in Oxford Circus. Thanks to Boxer for that. And I spoke to Fraser Clark at length, actually, and he was telling me that in the immediate aftermath of the Fabio Wardley fight falling through, he said to me, he goes, listen, man, I was in a real bad place. I really was. And he said to me that he was so bad that he really was in a state. And he said he went to Tesco's one night. I'll tell you very quickly. He went to Tesco's one night, came up with some guy outside that had struck on hard times, feeling a bit suicidal himself. Fraser said that he had a chat with him, got him some food, and he goes, as a result of that conversation, he got home. And when he got home, he thought to himself, well, I've been going through a bad time recently, but there's people out there way worse than me. And he said that was a catalyst to pull himself together. So he's saying since then he's got his head straight, he's got his head down and worked hard, and he can't wait to get in there on Friday. And you could see from the way he was talking, there's some real intensity in there. You know what I mean? So I'm actually looking. I'm going to the fight on Friday, and I'm looking
tomorrow night.
Yeah. He'll get the win, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But Marius Vac is a
good
big,
test.
strong guy.
Yeah.
You know
good
what I mean?
Test.
Yeah, so it will be a test for him. And I think if Fraser can win, especially if you can get him out of there, that will be a statement for him.
Yeah.
There's also a good fight on the undercard between Vidal Riley and Anis Taj. It's a rematch fight. They fought a few months ago. That's shaping up to be a good fight because Anis Taj is a good puncher, underrated boxing skill. And he's coming, man. He lost the first fight on a cut. He told me, again, I spoke to him yesterday, he said, listen, man, I know I buzzed Vidal in that first fight with a couple of big shots in the third round. I think I can knock him out. He's going for it. Spoke to Vidal. He said, listen, man, I'm going to do what I do. Repeat. You know what I mean? And there's a little bit of spite, a little bit of energy between those two. And then on the undercard, you've got Caroline Dubois. I'm looking forward to watching her. Aaron McKenna, he's in a good fight. So, yeah, man, looking forward to it.
What about Prograis and Zorilla, man? Because this is really a good opportunity for Prograis in particular, who is one of the top dogs at 140 pounds. But you get the feeling his profile isn't nowhere near as big as like the Teofimo Lopez's and, you know, those guys. And you get the feeling you need him to make us like he's a very good fighter. He doesn't need to prove anything. But I just think that in terms of his profile, you know, he signed a deal with Matchroom now. So, you know, he's got a bit of stability there. But, you know, 140 is one of the trending divisions right now. It's hot. So you're going to need to, in order to attract the Tank Davises, the Devin Haney's, who is rumored to fight, you know, maybe a rematch with Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall's been mentioned. We're going to need Prograis to go out there and put in a devastating performance here.
Yeah, first and foremost, he's got this fight on Saturday. He's got to take care of business. It's the first fight of his new contract with DAZN. Sure, he's going to want to look impressive. I think he probably will. Although the guy's no pushover he's fighting. Forget, how do you pronounce the guy's name?
Zorilla.
Yeah, something like that. Mm. But listen, as you said, Regis Prograis is a very good fighter, good puncher, good skills. Like you said, Daryl, he needs those big fights now, doesn't he? I mean, he had that big fight with Josh Taylor a couple of years ago. He lost. It was a close fight. Could have gone either way. I felt he could have felt a bit hard done by, given the fact that he was a champion. I thought he'd done enough to keep the belts. Decision went to Josh Taylor. Got no real complaints.
Just don't feel like he's capitalized off that himself. He hasn't really capitalized off that because even though he lost, his stock still rose in that fight.
Yeah, it still rose, and he fought his way back to a title. He got that good win against Zepeda, who was a decent fighter himself. But like you said, Daryl, he needs that big fight. So he would have been watching keenly the Josh Taylor versus Tio fight. Tio won, obviously, and won well. I'm sure he thinks he can beat Tio. And that would be a very good fight because
very good.
You would make him favourite over Tio normally. But then again, if you see the way Tio boxed the other night, then you'd be thinking to yourself, wow, man, that is a great fight. You know what I mean? Because if the Tio turned up against Josh Taylor the other night, that would be a serious test for Regis. So
rumors of Devin Haney, rumors of Jack Catterall as well. Rumors of those two guys.
Yeah, there's lots of good. The good thing about him being on the DAZN is that the DAZN have the resources to make those big fights happen. And to be fair to Regis, he did call out Jose Ramirez, and for whatever reason, Ramirez didn't take the fight. He said that they weren't paying him enough money. I don't know. It could be true. It might not be true. Who knows? But for whatever reason, he didn't take the fight. That's a potential big fight because Ramirez has got a couple of wins under his belt since the Josh Taylor fight. He's saying he wants a world title shot. So there's lots of people. And then, of course, the guys from lightweight coming up to light welter. You spoke about Devin Haney.
Ryan Garcia.
That's it. So there's lots of big fights, man. And like I said, DAZN have the resources in which to make those fights. Absolutely. So hopefully he gets through Saturday and we'll see how he gets next. Let's hope it's somebody, a big name.
For sure. Well, listen, Laurie, man, we've managed to ride it through despite, me having to use my phone today. I appreciate your patience, everybody else's patience here in the comments as well. The visuals may not be the best, but the audio is good, which is what matters really. So, yeah, that kind of wraps up for another week, man.
Listen,
Unless
with
you
the
want to
technical efficiencies of these smartphones nowadays, man. I mean, I was at a media day yesterday, and I was surprised the amount of people that was using their
their smartphone.
phones
Yeah, yeah,
rather than traditional camera equipment. You know what I mean? And then you
yeah,
look at their content, and it looks okay.
yeah.
When I say content, the quality, you know what I mean,
The camera
how it's
quality.
produced, yeah, how it's reproduced on film. So
Mm.
yeah, man, go for it. I've enjoyed it. We should do this more often, which
For
we will.
sure, man. Yeah, we'll be back next week. Next week, I'm flying out on Thursday. I'm going to Barcelona for the weekend. So obviously, we'll have to rearrange when we do our show, whether it's, in Barcelona, if I do it from there, or whether we do it, some other day during the week. But we'll chop it up at some point for sure. But listen, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everybody in the comments. Hit the like button on the way out. Like the video, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget, you can catch Laurie on DR Sports also. That's every Wednesday.
Well, we got the weekly show on Wednesdays, but we also covering the fight that we spoke about. Fraser Clark topping the bill against Marius Wack. We're covering that live on Friday. So yeah, make sure you check us out. We're a growing channel, so we appreciate the support. And yeah, thank you very much, bro. I must say, I'm looking forward to the comments section in this particular show. Now that I've gone after Canelo and Fury, I'm going to get a few haters, I would imagine. But listen, man, bring it on. Because everything I said, I mean. I'm not capping, you know what I mean? Those two guys, they need to be taken to task for the way they're treating the fans of boxing. You know what I mean? It's not right.
I'll stand with you on this one, man, for sure. Like, normally I'm kind of almost going against you on it, but if this does come to fruition, man, sorry, I have to stand with you on this. This is not acceptable for me. But listen, man, we'll chop it up next week anyway, man. We'll catch you guys next week. Thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys very soon.